The polygamous with there is they won't allow you to express yourself because everything has to be controlled. He wants the women to have them dispute so that way he's the man in charge
Weird.
and stuff. Instead of being on an equal base with you and I, it's like they love that fighting going on with them. And they love that. The men love that kind of stuff. I know, I've talked to them. It's always a competition. It's crazy.
Hey besties, welcome back to my channel. It's Aria so excited because Sister Wives season 20 or 19 is finally over, and it kind of ended with like a thud. It wasn't really that exciting with this last bit of the tell-all, but there was a few moments in this tell-all that I thought were quite unique and interesting, because I really appreciate Christine's husband David, because David has experience, because two of his older sisters lived in the world of polygamy, and because of that, he has experience directly with the men in polygamy. He has experience with these cultures, and if you know anything about his sisters, they were part of a community in the country of Mexico, kind of just across the border, and not the same community that Christine's family hailed from the Laren group, but a different group, and he knows full well what the guys in polygamy do. And what I thought was phenomenal was that, as you know, Suki is trying to minimize the damage and the reality of polygamy and plate, and in a way, I guess, keep the show going. She tried to just look at this as like a human conversation of, oh, is this just how Kody is? Or is this just how a polygamy thing is, where the guys want her to look good? Or is it not a good thing because they've been hidden? And David just went straight for the jugular and said, no, this is not a polygamy thing about looking good. It's a polygamy thing about the men mistreating the women so that they fight with each other and compete, because that's all the men want. They get off on it. They love when the women fight.
They love that fighting going on with them. And they love that. The men love that kind of stuff. I know, I've talked to them. It's always a competition. It's crazy because I've dated a couple of ex-polygamous women, and the men ruin them. Absolutely ruin them. My oldest sister's ruined from it. So when I just started dating you, I was a little leery of it because I'm like, okay. But I was like, holy cow, I found a diamond in the rough here.
David is very straightforward, and what I appreciate about David is that he is not going to play this game on this show. Like what we watched was normal. He's not going to pretend that the way that this system was set up was fair, that Kody was justified or kind, or that they should even entertain the fact that there's a rational reason for why Kody has done something, and that somehow it's the woman's fault, because David made clear that the women in these cultures are not allowed to feel, they're not allowed to do anything, just stuff it down, and the guys love it because they get control from it. And I'm like, finally someone says it without trying to pander to Kody, without trying to minimize what he's done, without trying to justify what he's done, without trying to allow him to blame someone else. Kody got off on it. He loved it. He loved the power it gave him. He said it was all ego. He loved being worripped. So if they're all competing and he is, they're all fighting, women end up very traumatized. He said his sister is ruined from it. I mean, and that is an understatement, because women that come out of these systems can deal with so much trauma, because many of them have suffered physical DV. They come out with trauma related to the psychological manipulation and coercion. A lot of them are leaving a system of high control, so they don't even understand really how to function in the real world. It's a lot, and then you're dealing with unwinding all of that abuse. So I was so glad to see a counterpoint finally.
And so, and Robin, as trite as everybody else might think that is, Robin doesn't talk about doing her makeup or about what's going on. They do. I'm sorry for Christine and David that they have to sit and make their lives about me and Robin. Let's move on. I'm okay. I'm going to move on.
I think they've really moved on.
I'm not convinced yet. I just watched it. I'm not convinced.
And Kody just proved David's point. He proved his point that even after they've left, the women all Kody does is think that they're competing. He thinks they're comparing. He thinks that Christine is living her life, trying to be like Robin. He said that last week that she still is jealous of Robin, that they are jealous of Kody. And Robin, that's how, in his world, he rationalizes all of this. Like, of course, they couldn't be trying to talk through her trauma and talk through what she experienced. No, Kody wants her to do what David said the men do, stuff it all down. Why should she get to talk about her experience? Why she wasn't valued? That just means she's jealous. She's only saying that because she's jealous. She just wants to be like Robin. It's pretty clear that Christine doesn't want to be like Robin. In fact, Christine doesn't even want to be with Kody. She left Kody because she doesn't want to be with him. She doesn't want to be in polygamy. She wants to be in a relationship where she's valued and heard and understood. And quite honestly, after years and years and years and years and years of these women being forced to shut up and just go on, he again proves David's point that all Kody wants is the power and the control. Because if they shut up about him, and if Christine just shuts up, then his secrets aren't coming out. His betrayals aren't coming out. His abuse won't come out. She's only doing this because she's jealous. She's not doing this because she wants to actually speak the truth for the first time.
If I had a year with Kody, I'm not sure I would have married him, honestly.
Ooh.
So I might have seen him for a little bit more who he was, you know what I mean? Gotten sort of off the charm ride, like the big charm, the big energy comes in with the charisma. But
there was also discussion about Kody and Robin's relationship, and that was Janelle telling everyone that Kody and Robin had a longer courtship than the rest of them, and there was a lot that was not disclosed to them, including how they first met, which they hid from everyone, and they revealed on the show literally to everyone, and they talked about, how different it was that they had this very long courtship, and Janelle there says, if I would have been with Kody for a year, I never would have married him because after a year, I would have his love bombing and the charm would have worn off and I would have seen him for who he was. And that's what Kody does. And that's what these polygamists do, is they love mom and they get people tied into relationships really, really fast so that they don't know who they're marrying. And then after they get married, then the real side of them comes out and they're like, whoa, I didn't know who this was. And this is exactly what Christine said. She said she had no clue that Kody was so serious. He didn't act that way at all. And then suddenly, when they got married, he was so serious, and it was always like very ominous, and the joking was gone. She had no clue that she was marrying a guy that was just so serious and intense.
Rob and I are accused all the time that all we ever wanted was each other. It's just BS. It's internet BS. It's just crappy commentary on our family.
Well, maybe the viewers saw something early on that the Brown family wasn't able to recognize
We were
within
just in
themselves.
denial. I mean, really, honestly, I'm sitting there with my journal going, God, what's going on? I'm already in love.
Kody tried to lie there and say that Robin and I are always accused, that we only wanted each other, and it's just bad commentary on the internet, and that we didn't want to do polygamy. But it was so obvious to all of us that watched for all these years that they didn't want to do polygamy. It was obvious that Kody was done with the other women by how he treated them. It was obvious that they for years faked that they were still in these intimate marriages with each other. It was obvious that he was only showing up for filming and that he lacked any sort of real connection with many of the children and the women. And it was very obvious that Robin felt emboldened and that she had a relationship with Kody that no one else had because she was obviously spending the most time with him. I mean, whenever they spoke about his relationships and how he felt and what was going on, it was always Robin speaking for Kody, right? She was very clear about she was Kody's wife and Kody was her husband. I mean, that was obvious. And so he tried to lie there and say that we didn't see that. And then he finally admits, yeah, maybe we were just in denial. Yes, Kody, no, you were not in denial. You were probably just milking this show for ratings, and you wanted them to all go along with it. I mean, Christine talked about how that was a betrayal to her, because they should have just been honest. It would have saved them all so much heartache if they just would have said something early instead of stringing them along for so many years. But they finally admitted it. We weren't wrong. They just wanted each other. Kody said it. Another part that they talked about was Robin and Kody's conversation, or Kody's admission, where he said that he had sex before he was married, and he had only told Mary and Robin apparently. And they were asked why Kody wouldn't have told Janelle and Christine. And Janelle and Christine were asked this by Suki. And Janelle actually was pretty clear about why he wouldn't have told them. And I actually agree with her point of view here.
He's just making stuff up now. I really do. If he had been in the mind that he was when we all were together, that would have been something he wouldn't have been proud of. He wouldn't have been bragging about. He wouldn't have been talking about. Because that was not, it was really sort of a transgression, really, against our moral code, right? It's so weird. I think he really just needs to somehow justify all the reasons that Robin's so perfect for him. Why is that sort of like, oh, I had sex before we got married. Or I had sex in college.
I don't think Kody would have wanted to admit this to anyone, quite honestly, because had he admitted that he had been in a sexual relationship prior to marriage, it would have impacted his ability to actually take on more wives. And if he told Mary and they didn't tell the church, that could have impacted him being sealed. He could have gotten reprimanded. He could have been told, you need to repent before you can do this, and then you can get back to being in good standing with our church, with the AUB. Because having sex before marriage is a huge sin in their group, and it's grounds for, nullifying a lot of the relationships. And because he was not honest, it was a betrayal. And so Janelle is right. He wouldn't have admitted it back then because he would have been ashamed. He wouldn't have wanted to admit it. He would have been so, unable to admit it because it would mean that he wasn't godly enough. But he says that Robin brought it out of him because, Robin had sex before marriage because she was married, and obviously Janelle had a sexual partner before they got married. She was married too, before Kody. I think the only virgins were probably Christine and Mary that he was with, right? But maybe he just wanted to be cool like Robin because Robin had had sex before marriage. But then think of how he made her do a purity speech. I always thought that was so gross. And she was like, I gave my purity to someone else, and he took it, and he threw it on the ground. And meanwhile, Kody wasn't pure. Do you remember that? And then there was this whole discussion about Kody and Robin's sex life, which I didn't want to talk about. But then Kody got really testy with Suki, and it was very unusual because he somehow jumped to the end where he was like, we're not talking about my sexuality.
I loved our conversation about Mormon naughtiness.
No, we're not talking about my sexuality. No, come on, that was crossing the line.
No, it's not about your sexuality. It's about you and Robin.
That was not a cool discussion.
Yeah.
I give a little bit here, so you don't have me in a good mood now. We're going to have to talk some more. I give a little bit here. It's like I give an inch. I'm generous. And it's like, well, let's dig into his life. Okay. I didn't think that was cool.
Do you remember in the episode where he talked about how he had this person that he had a relationship with, and they had sex, and he felt very guilty about it, and that person was genderless? Do you remember that he said something like a lover or something? He didn't use a pronoun to describe that person, and so obviously the internet was like, oh my God, is he talking about a man? You guys, I don't know. But because of that, there was that ambiguity, and I didn't even think about it. I didn't consider it. I didn't care, quite honestly. I feel sad for anyone that if they are in a life where they have to shelter themselves and they are not able to express how they feel in an open way, whether they're heterosexual or homosexual or pansexual or bisexual or whatever that is, if they're not able to be open, whether it's because of their dogma, their shame or guilt or fear. He immediately jumps to when Zuki wants to talk to him about Mormon naughtiness, meaning he was having intimate experiences with people. Whether it was everything but sex, and she just wanted to expound on the more of a naughtiness side of it, and he immediately is like, I'm not talking about my sexuality. I gave you a little bit there, and that's it. and I just opened the door, and I was a little bit generous, and now this is bad. Why did he immediately assume that she was going to ask him about his sexuality? He is so sensitive about his sexuality there, and she wasn't even going to ask him about sexuality. Kody claims to be straight heterosexual. That's his sexuality. That's who he's attracted to. Why would he assume that Suki was immediately going to jump to talking about him having sex with other men? Unless we didn't know about something. I mean, I don't even care. I don't even care. But why would he get so defensive about talking about sexuality? He's the one that brought it up. She didn't even bring it up. Did I miss something?
Are you afraid at some point Robin could leave if the anger continues to persist?
Yes. Yeah, she's going to be loyal. The difference with me and Robin is if we ever broke up, we would never say anything bad about each other because I think we definitely love each other. But and we still would even if we broke up.
So then there was this discussion about if Kody's anger doesn't get in check, will Robin leave him? And Robin then kind of dismisses this whole conversation by saying that Kody's getting better. But Kody almost has one foot out the door, and he's like, yes, 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 she will leave me if I don't get better. But if we break up, she will speak nicely of me because we are good friends, and we will never be mean to each other, and we will never say bad things about each other. And I'm like, did you watch what Robin did with her ex-husband and how she talked about him and what she said about him? Do you remember how she basically called him a rapist when he wasn't? Do you remember how she basically said he was hurting her in DV when it didn't happen? Do you remember that? Oh, Kody and Robin, of course, dismissed this. But this part of the tell-all was very interesting to me because David called out Kody for who he was, and he showed Kody for who he was. And Kody responded to show David who he was, someone that ruins women and hurts them and abuses them. Kody's bragging about being sexually experienced, got him caught up in a conversation where he was reminded that his behavior would have been condemned in his church by Chris, by Janelle, and then questions about his experiences with other people got Kody very upset to the extent that he starts throwing daggers about his own sexuality and how he's not going to answer questions about his sexuality. Again, I ask, did we miss something, Kody? But truthfully, Kody showed us who he was: a liar, a person that hurts people, and I'm just finally glad to see someone call him out. So what are your thoughts about this part of the tell? All tell me in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and please do me a favor by clicking the bell. And thank you all so much for watching. Bye, besties.